I'm not for everybody, but it's the model that I chose. So I basically, if I serve 20 people in a year, I can still have a company that's in the 7-figure range, and it ends up being incredibly profitable. I know profitability is a huge thing, and it's a huge thing for you.
Profit First entrepreneurs and thought leaders. I am so excited today. We have a special guest with us. His name is Chris Kenney. And Chris Kenney, he helps entrepreneurs position, package, and sell high ticket programs. And today we're going to interview him and we're going to discuss why funnels suck, right? Because funnels are used by everybody right now, and how to radically simplify your business for 7-figure results. Please welcome to the platform, Chris Kenney. Hey, Chris, how are you?
I've been fantastic. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
Yes, we are so excited to hear what you've got to say, especially considering that you started and grew the 7-figure business, right? And a lot of it was done without website, business cards, and digital marketing. So please tell us how you are doing it.
Yeah, how am I doing it? So to be completely transparent, the first 300K in this particular business was done without a business card, without a website. And
That's
the
pretty
way
good
that
for 300K.
Honestly, and I find that people, they spend a lot of time on that. They'll spend a lot of time, oh, I got to get my site up and I've got to get all my copy perfect and I've got to do this and that. And it's all these details. And here's what ended up happening. So I didn't set out to start the company and not have a website and not have any of those things. But what ended up happening was I started, just getting online and I started interacting, going into groups where my people are and just interacting, getting into conversations, bringing value. And I ended up getting into just a ton of conversations, and I ended up enrolling a lot of clients. And that's what happened. And then it was also before COVID. So I was also going to some live events and I was doing a little bit of speaking. So those items alone were enough for me. I just was showing up in these areas, interacting, creating intrigue with people to go have people get really curious about, wow, what's this guy really up to? And like, what's he do? It's really fascinating, And then they would buy my stuff. And what ended up happening was I had a web designer, and we had gotten to the copy phase of the website, and that's where I turned into the cog in the wheel, because I don't love writing copy. And so I started getting really slow with the production of the website, and then I got super busy because clients came on, and then next thing I knew, I had done 300,000 in sales. And I was still sitting there without a website. And then the funny story of why I got a website, and this has to be 4 years ago now, was I ended up in a situation with a financial services company where they wanted to hire me to coach their financial advisors. And they were gonna pay me, they were paying, like the advisors would hire me, but the company would pay for the coaching. But one of the company's requirements was you got to have a website in order for us to do this. So I literally picked up the phone, called my VA and said, how quickly can we put up a website? And we literally got on the phone as I was in the car, like driving back from Maryland or something. And she bombarded me with questions. And in one afternoon, we put up a 3-page website, and that was my website until probably 2 years ago when, here I was sitting here, in the multi-6, approaching 7 figures. And then we went ahead and we did the website. So it was going out, interacting, creating intrigue, and then moving people into enrollment conversations in selling my stuff. And that was what it took.
Wow, that is amazing. That's funny that they wanted a website. Like probably a year ago, it was, where's your office at? Where are you located at? And these people actually wanted you to have a website to do business.
Yeah, where's your website? I was like, oh yeah, they want you. Well, that's like your slate that says I really do exist, and I really am in business. But it's not something that I would say back then it wasn't something that you absolutely had to have. Now, because of COVID, we're having to interact. A lot more of it's online, all of it's online interaction. So it'd probably be a lot harder today to do it because of COVID. But back then, it was just good. But it speaks to the importance of how much value there is in knowing how to just have a real conversation with real people, create intrigue, and then know how to actually do enrollment. In other words, have a really effective sales conversation that's authentic and real and effective, charge enough for your services, charge what you're worth. If you're doing those things, that's where you don't really need a marketing funnel. I'm a person that teaches you don't need a funnel. And if you're funneling the way I've always seen funnels, and I'm not here to say that a funnel will never work. I will say I'm not a massive detail person. And in order to get a funnel working, there's a ton of detail, there's a ton of investment, there's a ton of testing. There's so many, and one part of the funnel's not functioning, it messes up the rest of the funnel. And we've all been there, right? And it's an absolute train wreck that drives me absolutely insane. So I said, if I'm gonna run this business, I'm gonna keep it simple, and I'm going to run it without funnels, because funnels drive me absolutely bonkers. So if you're a person, funnel absolutely drives you bonkers, I'm your guy.
No, that's neat. And just to clarify for some of our viewers that, let's say they're manufacturing, they're not quite sure what a funnel is. What is a funnel when you think of funnel?
Well, it's like taking people, like they get online and they see one thing, like there's a piece of content online, right? And that piece of content leads them to another place, right? Where they get another, like they opt in for this thing. Maybe I give them a 5-step process for overcoming price objection. They opt into the 5 steps. They watch the 5 steps, and then the 5 steps leads them to something else. And then they do this something else. And then after they do this something else, it leads them to something else. So they go through the, several steps, step. And they're kind of like a funnel, like you're putting all of these people into the top of the funnel. All these people are getting this 5 steps for overcoming price objection. And then they're going to trickle down, and hundreds of people are going to see this. And by the time they all come through the whole entire process, maybe 1 or 2 clients spits out at the bottom of the funnel.
Oh yeah.
After they've gone through the whole entire process. But I found that to be incredibly difficult. I found it to be incredibly tedious. I found it to be incredibly expensive. And I figured, why can't I just go and have human conversations with people and then enroll, build trust, enroll, build trust, enroll. And you can do that without a funnel, without question.
Oh yeah, no, that's really interesting. And I can imagine too, because, the funnels remind me sort of like, auto attendant, on the phone, you hit one and then you're like, oh, wrong answer. We didn't understand it. Hit another option. And you just get into this like robotic over and over again funnel. And it probably works for your like $29.99 products, but how many people are selling those, right? That's definitely not so efficient. So tell me about, I know that you position these packages that are high ticket packages, right? Which is how versus your traditional model. Maybe we can talk a little bit about that. Tell me about the clients that you serve versus the clients that are traditionally there and what those look like.
Yeah, well, I would say traditional versus boutique business. So my clients are clients that want to set up they want to be in a boutique business model. So let's look at like a traditional business model, or this is what I would refer to as traditional in my industry. Traditional would be a high volume business that's low investment. So you have a whole bunch of people that maybe buy something that's $500 or $1,000, and you just get more and more and more and more. So you're constantly burning and churning and trying to find the next client and go. A lot of people coming through. There's team, because you have 200 clients or something, because you need 200 clients in order to generate the revenue that you essentially need, because you're not charging a lot of money. So that's one model. And I tried that model. I had that model really early on in business. I ended up in a place where I got all the way up to 45, which was a lot for me, 45 one-to-one clients as a person that's doing coaching. Any of you that are doing coaching, or maybe somebody that does coaching, oh my God, 45 one-to-one clients is a lot.
That's a lot, yeah.
I was totally burned out.
That's every single day, right? Like,
yeah, I created, well, I wasn't talking to people. I was talking to, I had 45 people that I would interact with once a week.
Oh, wow.
Which was just a lot. It was like, oh my God. So I was working 55, 60 hours a week doing coaching, and you're soaking up everybody else's energy. And it's like, it was very, very draining. So again, traditional is high volume, low investment. Boutique, which are the people that come to me, they want to have a boutique business, means maybe you have a staff of four people, or maybe you have even 3 or 2, myself, a virtual assistant, maybe a copywriter, that kind of thing. It's a very small company, but we work with very few people, but they're paying a high investment. So, I have packages that range all the way from, on the low end, $5,000, and then on the high end, up over $100,000. I'm not for everybody, but it's the model that I chose. So I basically, if I serve 20 people in a year, I can still have a company that's in the 7-figure range, and it ends up being incredibly profitable. I know profitability is a huge thing, and it's a huge thing for you. It ends up, it's just an incredibly profitable model if you can learn how to run it, be able to create programs that are valuable enough that it would allow you to charge that high dollar amount for that, and then learn how to enroll people into those. It's a super easy model once you're running it. When I say easy, it means I work 25 hours a week. I don't have to put 60 hours in to make this work. That's the difference, traditional versus boutique in my industry.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely working smarter, not harder, right? Because I can
Yeah,
imagine
for sure.
25 coaching clients. Oh my gosh, that's like weekends and like, unless you want
I
to
was
staff with
exhausted.
everyone.
And then I realized, oh my gosh, I've created another job for myself. I might as well just go back and get a job, because that's what it felt like. I was totally burned out, exhausted. And then, coaching is a high energy thing, because you're taking on people's energy, you're working them through their stuff, working them through their crap and their head trash and so on. And, some of those calls can be really heavy, energetically. And my God, 45 people a week. Or I was like, oh my God. And I did it for 7-8 months. And I was ready to quit coaching. I was like, I need to be done with this. It's too
Oh
much.
yeah. Yeah, definitely, definitely. I get, one of the things that comes up is, in terms of like these high ticket sales, right? That happen, in terms of like defining that, what is a high ticket sale to you? Like what constitutes a high ticket sale?
It's a really great question. It really is. It's a fantastic question. I would say that a high ticket sale, so first of all, it's relative. So what I find high ticket might not be high ticket for the next person. So the way I typically would describe it or define it would be a high ticket sale is a sale that happens at a price point that is significantly higher than you ever thought you could get.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a product right now, product service program that you're selling for $1,000, and then all of a sudden you go sell it for $4 because it's positioned differently, guess what? That's a high ticket sale in my world. Now, in terms of the clients that I'm serving, most of them are viewing a high ticket sale as something in excess of 10 to 15,000 in that range. But I say that with the knowing that that's an incredibly relative thing. For some people, high ticket might be 3,000. 2,000. But again, if you're selling it for a lot more than you thought you could, because you had mindset head trash around your value, and you convert that sale for that higher price point, you've just had yourself a high ticket sale.
Right. Now, I know a lot of entrepreneurs, they get caught up in this trading volume for margins, right? So they feel like if I sell, maybe if I get clients, right, and I sell my services for like, maybe $200 a month, but if I get enough of them, I'll make it up, in terms of, the volume will make up for the margins that aren't there. Obviously you're going a whole different route. And I think most of these entrepreneurs, when they're signing up these really low margin clients, they're thinking it's going to be easier to get people to say yes, right? When you're going for higher margins and you're going for a more boutique feel, is it harder to get clients in that
Yeah,
case?
it's interesting. And again, that's another really great question. You're asking really common questions about this. And this, again, I'm so glad that you're asking. And I would love for everyone to write this down. It is easier to get one person to pay you $10,000 than it is to get 10 people to pay you $1,000. Please write that down. It is easier to get one person to pay you 10,000 than 10 people to pay you 1,000. I have done both, and I promise you, I know the head trash might be coming in and saying, oh my gosh, how could that be possible? It is true. It is easier to get one person to pay you 10,000 than 10 people to pay you 1,000. I've learned it. It's part of what I teach. I live it. I walk it. I've experienced it. I thought that, oh my gosh, it must be easier to get 10 people to pay 1,000, but it's not. It is the exact polar opposite of that. And it also ties into a little bit of a mindset trap or a mindset lesson I think that people need to learn. And if you're picking your pricing based in scarcity, saying, you know what, I'm going to pick this low price because, oh my gosh, I have to stay low so I get clients. I have to stay low so I get clients. That is a scarcity-based decision. And scarcity-based decisions create scarcity. Scarcity-based decisions create scarcity. So you don't want to be making your decision from a place of scarcity, because you will create exactly that. You will create scarcity in your life. So pick your pricing from an abundant mindset, not from a scarce mindset.
That is interesting. So it's almost like the air that they're putting off, it attracts what they're putting off is what they're getting back. That's very interesting. So how does one go about attracting clients that are willing to pay $10,000 versus $1,000? Because obviously
Yeah.
ClickFunnels is not going to get that for you, right?
No, ClickFunnels is not going to get there. You know what it is? It's there's so many different things. So first of all, you have to have confidence. You have to trust yourself. You have to be willing to fully step in and own your value. And whether or not somebody's going to pay you 1,000 or 10,000 is really going to be based on your way of being. And people will pay a lot of money to other people that will say to them what other people won't say, will call them out in a way that other people won't call them out. Part of it, like when we're doing it online and we're doing it in social, is, I go in and I go into these groups. This is how I'm prospecting right now, is I'll go into groups on Facebook and I'll interact and I give value, interact and give value. And one of the things that's super important is when somebody posts something and they say something about, let's just say they're commenting about, overwhelm, and they're wanting to get their business to a particular level, but oh my gosh, there's so much overwhelm and there's so much stress and so on and so forth. And then what drops in the feed usually is all these people being sympathetic and blah, 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 blah. And what I found is really, really effective is to go in, be direct, and say something polarizing. Say something that's contrary, because contrary, if that's your ideal client, right? If that's your person, honestly, the thing to write down is you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. You can't say the wrong thing to the right person. So I'll say something contrary. I'll say something direct. I'll say something that flies against the radar. And if that's my person, they're going to respond to me with a DM and say, you know what? I never thought about it that way. Right? So it's like being willing to be bold enough, being willing to be big enough, being willing to not be attached to being liked. It's not about going in and making sure people like you, because you know what? It would be much easier to just jump into that chain of comments and just, sympathize and blah, 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 blah. But if your truth is radiating something that says, wow, I see this completely differently, be courageous enough to speak that and communicate that, even if it's contrary, because you have to show up as an expert and go, I don't see it that way. You have to be willing to argue with the norm that's showing up in there. And it's interesting. I just had an experience where I did that incredibly recently, said something that was completely against the grain, right? And I said it in a DM because I didn't want to insult the person, or you know what I mean? I just went right over to DM and said, look, I have an opinion that's completely different. Here's what I'm thinking about this. And I started the dialogue over there. And yesterday, that person hired me for $75,000. Yesterday. So what I'm trying to get to here is to own that, to get people to see you as that person that can charge high ticket. You have to be willing to do what other people are not doing. You have to be willing to say what other people are not saying. You have to be willing to speak your truth, even if it's contrary to what other people are saying in the groups and in the feeds and so on and so forth. That's, to me, one of the absolute keys. You have to stick out. And if you don't stick out, if you're doing what everybody else is doing, you're going to get what everybody else is getting.
Oh yeah, that is really interesting. That's interesting that you say that too. It's almost like, well, to go contra grain, is what I'm going to call it, contra grain, right? You almost have to care more, right? You have to care more to speak that truth, even if it's a truth
Yes.
that nobody wants to say, right? And so what I'm hearing from you, it's really about speaking your truth and serving, right? And serving in a way that isn't necessarily making everything smooth and okay. It's, if you really want to be better, this is what you need to do.
Well, and that's what it was. It was like and it was an issue that I was seeing that was with the business model that the person was in. And, everybody was talking about the overwhelm and just commenting on the overwhelm and saying, yeah, you've got to build a bigger team and blah, 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 blah. And it was very clear that this person didn't want a bigger team. It was like, that was the thing that was creating the overwhelm. So it was like, I went the total opposite direction and said, why are you building a business that you absolutely hate? You don't like interacting with team. It's very clear you don't, and there's nothing wrong with not wanting to have a big team. That's totally fine. There's no right or wrong. It's just not resonating with you. Well, maybe I just need to adjust my attitude. That was what came back. And it was like, if having a small team is part of your core, and it's part of your mission, and that's part of who you're called here to be in business, your attitude is not going to adjust what's at your core. And it will always suck, and it will always feel like you're swimming upstream. And you know, see what I'm saying? And that got this person to actually go, wait a second, maybe I should be looking at a different model, and maybe I should be looking at, you know, a more, again, high volume, low investment model that won't require this massive team, because this person was talking about, how do I go to $10 million, right? So it's a big conversation. But it was a contrary opinion, and it was interesting. People always say, Chris, you know, do you get uncomfortable? Well, I made that post that was contrary, and then I didn't hear anything until the next morning. And I did. I had that inner dialogue. Geez, I hope that wasn't too direct. And then I went, well, listen to yourself. You know, I had the inner chatter too. But the bottom line is, I've gotten skilled enough at this, and I've gotten competent enough where I'm willing to put myself in that uncomfortable place. I'm willing to make myself sweat a little bit and go, you know what, this might be contrary and it might be off-putting, but I'm going to be direct and I'm going to speak my truth, because that's what I'm called here to do. This is the truth that's been put in me by my creator. I'm going to speak that truth. And it might get accepted and it might get rejected, but that's okay.
No, I like that. That allows you to live out your purpose too, right? It allows you to accomplish what you're put here to do, right? So
Exactly.
and you can't do that if you don't speak your truth. So
Yeah, completely.
I think that's amazing. And so I'm curious, you know, and I know this is kind of going off the beaten path a little bit. Why don't more people do that? Why don't more people speak their truth?
I think it comes down to what we talked about earlier. I think we all have this very ingrained, you know, human, you know, it's a human thing. We want to be liked. We want to be accepted. And if our truth is flying in the face of somebody else's truth, we're worried we're going to be offensive. We're worried they're not going to like us. You know, we're taught to be polite. You know, we're growing, my mom and dad tell us, so be polite. You must be polite. Well, guess what? That's ingrained in us. And, you know, that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with, how do we, you know, show up fully, speak our truth, even if it might argue with somebody else's truth. But it's not even about being right. It's about everybody being fully expressed in my world. I just want everybody to be able to express whatever their truth is. That's, to me, that's, if we all did that, I think we'd be living in a better world. And I think they don't, or people don't, because lack of confidence, worry about being liked, worrying about being accepted, worrying that their truth is enough. We're taught to be what other people are telling us to be, what the teachers are telling us to be, and who they're, you know what I mean? There's so much of that, so much pressure.
Oh yeah, definitely. I can see that happening. You know, from kindergarten, we're told stand in line, right? Stand in line and use your manners.
Yes.
I can definitely see.
So
So
then
if
we've had a lifetime of conditioning going the other way, don't we?
have a website, right? Have a website.
Yeah, have a website. You must have a website. Oh, really? Okay.
You must have a funnel, a click funnel.
That's right.
How does one go about setting up a boutique business? First of all, how do you know if it's the right thing for you? And what are the steps that you need to do? What are the first steps that you need to do to get started on setting up a boutique business?
Well, you know, the first thing, you know, is boutique right for you? I think that's a matter of, do you want to deal with a lot of people, or would you rather deal with a few people? I mean, that's going to be a personal preference. And again, I just really want to drive that home. There's no right or wrong answer. Some people prefer a model where they love interacting with lots of people and they want a huge community, and they resonate with that. And if that's what you resonate with, then I would definitely go traditional. If you're a person that would rather work incredibly deeply with a smaller amount of people, then boutique is probably the way to go. And I would say the first step to that would be, in our industry, in the industry that I'm in, the coaching industry, it would be, what problem do you want to solve for people? And then creating a package that navigates a person from point A to point B. But forget about money. Don't think about how much it would cost. Like if you're helping a person, you know, say you're a confidence coach and you're helping a person move from really tremendous lack of confidence to, wow, incredible, powerful confidence, and totally, you know, standing in their power, and so on and so forth. Like, what would be a package? What would be the way that you could interact with them that is like the perfect way that would create the result that they want? And don't even think about how much it would cost for them to interact with you in that way. What is it? Is it a whole bunch of one-to-one coaching? Is it one-to-one coaching with some retreats? Is it one-to-one coaching with, a monthly meeting with a group of 5. What is it? What's the best possible way they can interact with you? You create that package, get that thing created, and then go out. And I would tell you that the thing that I would tell everybody to do first is go out and sell one. Just go out and sell one, because that's where it begins. That's where it starts. And I don't even care if you undercharge for it in the beginning. Just create that package and go sell it one time, because then you've got a client, right? And then you can go and you can do some delivery. And I'll tell you, in terms of getting your prices up, boutique business, because you want to have a high price point if you're going to do boutique, if you want to survive and stay, just remember this, that every time you do a price increase, you have to quote the price, the higher price, right before you feel worthy of it. Because here's what happens. If we wait to feel worthy of the higher price, we'll be waiting forever. The way this happens is you quote it before you feel worthy of it. You push yourself out of the comfort zone. Maybe you raise it $1,000 or $2,000 or whatever. You give it that price, and then you go, oh, it's enough to make you uncomfortable. Then you deliver high value, the person gets a really good result, and you go, holy crap, wow, I really am worth that extra money. And then you go through that process, and then you'll slowly raise it again. Just remember, I have always had to do that. Whenever I've increased my price point, I had to raise it before I fully believed I was worth it. Then I would raise it, I'd get the higher fee, deliver the value, and grow into that new price point. You grow into it after you quote it.
I love it. It's you definitely are good, Chris, at pushing us out of our comfort zones. I can tell you that.
Yes, it's totally uncomfortable. That's why it takes support. That's why I have a successful business, because it's not something that people can typically do by themselves. But if it's a model that resonates, and they know they've got, a really powerful message and mission inside of them, and that's the model they resonate with, they'll come to me and they'll say, oh my God, can you support me and help me do this?
So how has it changed in terms of being able, if you're a boutique business or wanting to be a boutique business and you want to grow your business in COVID-19 world 2020, because that's going to be here, right? For like at least the next 6 months, we're going to be in COVID 2020. What has been the biggest challenge, and what has been the biggest adaptation to this environment?
Yeah, the biggest adaptation for me has been not being able to make money through public speaking. I was doing a lot of my marketing was going out and doing speaking engagements, and then getting hired after doing the speaking. So the biggest pivot was moving that expertise of my ability to stand up in front of a room and command a room and deliver powerful content and connect to people, and just moving to doing that in an online space. That was the biggest transition. And the thing that I found was it's actually the same. I had a story in my mind, back in March when this all started, when we went on lockdown, that, oh my gosh, I've got to do it online. It's going to be totally different. And everything's different. It's not different. It's exactly the same thing. And instead of going into somebody else's room and speaking, I just had to create my own room. In other words, we created a Facebook group. We built a community on Facebook. I get to go live in that community every week and share content and share value. And I have an audience. So I've just created my own audience, but the selling is the same. It's just done. Instead of talking to a person like you and I are talking, sometimes I'm sending them direct messages, or we're connecting on Zoom instead of face-to-face and in person. But it was scary, I'm not gonna lie, because I'm like, I hadn't done this. I hadn't done like complete online marketing, like complete client enrollment from online interaction, but it's not different. Instead of going to places where I can network, where I know my target market is, and network live, I just go into Facebook groups where those people are, and I interact in there. The conversations are the same.
Wow. Do you find that people are as open online versus like because I'm sure when you get off the stage, people just flock to you. I mean, you've got that charisma, that red shirt, I'm sure people flock to you. Do you find that people are just as open to you online though? Tell me about that experience.
Yeah, it takes a little bit more work. If I'm being completely honest, you're dealing with people cold, you're a stranger. They haven't seen you speak already. They've maybe had a brief conversation or a brief interaction. So there's a little bit more nurturing, I think, that has to take place. But as you said earlier, as long as you're coming from service, you keep coming from service and keep giving value, and keep coming from service and keep giving value, I think it takes a little bit longer. But again, it's not different. It's only different in that it takes longer, but the conversations are the same, if that makes any sense at all. I had a story that it would be massively different, and it just isn't. So I would say it's a little bit more of a slow burn, but I have to, let's just say it, put it this way. I have to interact with more people to get the same result than I did before.
That makes sense. That makes perfect sense. Yeah, because I know, being a speaker, that's, you've changed lives, right? Usually in the hundreds, depending on how big
Right.
the convention are. And of course they're going to come to you immediately,
Yeah, you
right?
end up with 30 people in front of you who are just, oh my God, that was amazing. All right, you're not doing that online. You're interacting and you're connecting and you're just dripping bits of value and dripping bits of value and nurture. And so it's different in that way, but I'm not saying different things. It just takes a little bit longer to move a person from, let's call it from cold to sold. It takes longer, but it's the same process.
Right. So guys, you hear that? It's serve, 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 and speak your truth. And serve, serve, serve again, speaking your truth. It's really
Right.
what it is there. Now, Chris, one thing that I want to ask you is, as we close down for today, if you could leave our viewers and our listeners with one piece of advice of how to market, navigate, and really move through this 2020, that's as awkward as it is, and really be able to grow these incredible businesses, right? What would that advice be?
Wow, how to grow business in COVID-19. It's not as hard or as different as you think it is. And I would say know who your target market is and go to where they are online and interact and bring value. And if you do that, people will sign up with you. It works. It's incredibly effective. It's not the way you think it's going to be. That's the interesting thing. I have so many clients that I've told to do that, and they have this, oh my gosh, it's going to be hard. It's going to be tedious. It can be super, super, super fun. Be very targeted with who your people are. Find Facebook groups, for example, or LinkedIn groups where they are. Go in, get into the conversation. Just get into the conversation and bring value. Get into the conversation and bring value. It'll get you there.
I love it. I love it. And Chris, how can our audience find you after this? How do we find you?
The best place to find me, I'm just going to direct people right into the private Facebook group. I have a private Facebook group. It's called Sales Mastery Inner Circle. Sales Mastery Inner Circle on Facebook. Go over to Facebook, type that in the search bar. There'll be 3 quick questions you have to answer to hop into the group. Hop in there, and then every Thursday inside of that Facebook group, I do a live show. So come on in, free content, every Thursday, live show, Sales Mastery Inner Circle on Facebook, or you can find me online at my website, which is chriskennycoaching.com.
So to reach Chris, to learn about how to grow a boutique business to work smarter, not necessarily harder, please go to
chriskennycoaching.com or Sales Mastery Inner Circle on Facebook. Hope to see you there.
Thank you, Chris. It was
My
awesome
pleasure.
meeting with you.
All right, you as well. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.